Hey, this is James, the XDMAN, and our friends over at Guns and Gadgets Daily asked us to do a follow-up review on the Springfield Armory Hellcat Micro 9 Compact Pistol. And now that we've had it a couple weeks, they wanted to find out an in-depth review of what I really feel about this pistol and is it worth it for you to buy. One of the things that Springfield Armory did was remove the loaded chamber indicator off the top of the slide. And we're in a classroom, but we're showing that the gun is safe. And what I mean by that is that now they have a peephole, where before in the pistols like the XDS, notice how they had this long loaded chamber indicator. Well, what would happen, because of course not all gun people were clean, some people were nasty, they would clean their guns and then they'd put grease and nasties in there, and what would happen is that stuff would build up underneath, and eventually this loaded chamber indicator could snap off. And it wasn't just with the XDS pistols, but the XDs and the XD Classics and the XDMs could also suffer that same fate. They get nasties underneath and it would disable that loaded chamber indicator and it would show that the gun was loaded even if it was unloaded. So, to simplify things, they drilled a little peephole in here and you have less parts to break, and now all you got to do is look in there and look for the brass of your round and to see if it's loaded or not. But now online, there's a bunch of naysayers that said, well, now there's a hole in there and all kinds of nasties would get up in there and disable the gun. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the range, and everybody loves my dog Negan, so we're gonna take some Negan dust and feathers and nasties, we're gonna stuff them in that gun, and we're gonna see if the gun still runs. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put some dirt in there, and we're gonna shove it in there and put it all on the slide and see if the gun still runs. Now the lint, we are gonna have to smack that slide closed. The reason is we're putting so much lint and nasty in that in the slide that normal everyday carry, you're never going to run into that. But we're going to jam this gun up so bad that we're going to have to force that slide shut, and we're going to see if that gun still runs. We're going to go ahead and try the lint test. Bunch of Negan hair and feathers. Oh, disgusting. All right. That's just nasty, Negan. Next, we're going to try the dirt test. We got a little baggie of some dirt. Oh. Oh. Why would somebody do that? Let's test it out. All right, one of the issues with the Springfield Armory Hellcat that has happened when we let other people shoot the pistol.
So when I fired this gun, and every time I fired, this would move up and down. And you can see where it's pinched my finger right here.
Grip the pistol and show us.
So I'm gripping just like that. My hand goes.
And it pinches you.
And it pinches right on that.
Online, people are complaining about the Hellcat that it looks like it's top heavy. It has a bunch of muzzle rise when you shoot the gun. Well, I'm here to tell you that that really isn't the case. If you're not a good shooter, you're not a good shooter. The Hellcat is not going to make you a good shooter. If you were a mediocre shooter to a good shooter, you're still going to be a good shooter. You're still going to be a mediocre shooter. This pistol does not have any more muzzle rise than any other gun out there. Now, what I will tell you is if you use the flush magazine, you got to remember that is a short magazine, and I'm going to try it left-handed. As you grip that pistol, there's a lot of empty room in there. So as the recoil, if you're not really trained in managing that recoil, you can get some muzzle rise. Now, If you switch over to the extended magazine, you got to remember you have more purchase in there, and that helps the gun from recoiling as much. Basically, it's just plain physics. If you've got a longer grip, there's less chance that that gun is going to rise up because you have more purchase on that gun and you're able to drive that gun onto target. Whereas if you have less, you know, it may be harder to control. Now, like I said, if you're a decent shooter to a good shooter, that doesn't matter for you because you know how to drive the gun, you know how to drive any gun, and it will work for you. If you're not as good of a shooter, you may want to think that you always use that extended magazine and it'll help you out with that recoil management. Now, one of the cool things about this gun is the texture that Springfield Armory put on here. Now, it's some type of space age texture, scientific mapping where they've got pyramids and flat top pyramids that if you zoom way in there, you could see that. I don't know about any of that, you know. Springfield Armory's got the pictures, but what I do know is that if you get sweaty hands, and believe me, last week there was 100 degrees plus in Alabama, just felt like 200% humidity. You were still able to purchase that gun and get it and be able to drive it home to get the gun on target and be able to use it. So you don't have to worry about sweat, mud, debris on there. You're still going to be able to use that gun. But the cool thing, like what Springfield says, is because of that unique texture, it doesn't rub your hand raw, which is a cool thing, but it gives you that extra purchase, which is weird how they do it. I don't know, but it just does it. It must be magic. One of my favorite things about the Hellcat pistol are the sights that come on this gun. From the factory, you get a tritium front that's a high visibility, and then in the back, you get a U-notch rear. This is an extremely fast sight system that is not only accurate, but again, the only way to describe it is extremely fast. Now, you compare this to other pistols that are out there on the market, like for example, the XDS. This is actually my personal everyday carry gun. Notice one of the first things I did was change the sights that were on there to something that was more useful. With the XDS, normally it comes with a fiber optic front and just white rears. So the Hellcat beats that with that tritium front. The next closest gun to compare the Hellcat to is the P365. Now, this gun does come with night sights, but as you can see, it comes with a higher visibility front, but it's got that blacked out rear that it's not as fast as the Hellcat. So in my personal opinion, the Hellcat wins in this particular category. And then when you compare it with other pistols like a Shield, well, there's no comparison because from the factory, you get 3 white sights. You know, if this was a carry gun, you need night sights. Comparing it to a Glock 43 or a Glock 42, again, you get the plastic sights that are on that gun, but really if you carry a Glock, you need to change the sights. The plastic will fall out, will bend, will break. Where the Hellcat, like I said, comes with that high visibility, with that U-notch rear, metal sights that aren't going to budge, extremely accurate, and again, fast. With the Micro 9 Hellcat, we're going to prove that this gun and these sights are fast. We're going to take it to the range and we're going to be about 4 or 5 yards away from some steel targets, and we're going to run some drills with the flat and the extended magazine to see how fast we can get her on target and get it to work. Springfield Armory Hellcat Micro 9, flush fitting magazine. Let's do a speed run. We're going to do another speed run with the Hellcat with the extended magazine. How does the Springfield Armory Hellcat compare to its bigger brother, the Springfield XDS? Well, let's take a look at my XDS everyday carry. I love this gun. Don't get me wrong. I've loved it for the last couple years, but that love comes with pain. If you take this gun to the range and you shoot it 3 or 4 boxes, a couple hundred rounds out of it, what ends up happening is it'll rub your thumb knuckle raw. So take a look at how thick that back strap is right there, that top, that beaver tail, and that corner, that little corner right there. Well, when you shoot it, it just rubs right there on that knuckle and will give you a blister. Now the cool thing is that Hellcat, you would think that this would be more uncomfortable to shoot because it's a smaller package. Well, I'm here to tell you that it is not. It is actually a more comfortable gun to shoot than the XDS. And the reason is, look at how that's contoured all on the bottom right there. There's no sharp corner right there. So when you get it, and remember the grip is smaller, look at where my knuckle comes up to on the gun normally to shoot it. So the actual beaver tail is past that part that it would have rubbed. And the cool thing about it too is that the grip, notice how it's more of a square shape than a long rectangle. Here's what happens with that. So that long rectangle, it's longer for your fingers to reach around, and that puts your knuckle right there on the back of that corner. It's further for you to reach for the trigger, and because it's such a narrow grip, now I never noticed it because I had anything to compare it to, but once you shoot the Hellcat, you notice because of that long and narrow grip, it gets into the web of your hand, and it just punishes your hand more than it does with the Hellcat. With that wider grip in there, you're basically spreading that load across more of the palm of your hand. It makes it way more comfortable to shoot, even though it's a smaller package. Now, even though the Hellcat is a micro 9mm pistol that is super small and cute, she is an accurate pistol. Now, the sights, remember we talked about that U-notch and that high visibility front? Even at longer ranges, let's say 15 yards, we were still able to hit a steel target that is really an Alpha Bravo size target. We were able to hit it every single time. So we're going to cut and we're going to go to the range and we're going to show some longer range shooting for a micro 9 pistol.
Rolling.
We're going to try the Hellcat micro 9mm pistol with the flush magazine, 11 rounds, 15 yards on a steel target. Eleven hits in the center zone. At 15 yards, we're going to try the Springfield Armory Hellcat Micro 9 with the extended magazine, 13 plus 1 in the chamber. 15 yards against a steel target. Let's see how accurate it is. I'm actually getting tired shooting. There's so many rounds. Fourteen rounds on target. It actually got almost boring to shoot. It's that accurate. That was some pretty good shooting, Tex. I'll tell you what. We were able to get 6 rounds on 3 different targets, kind of a modified El Presidente with this little bitty pistol, and I was able to put rounds wherever I wanted as fast as I wanted. And you may say, yeah, that was pretty close, but remember, most typical self-defense situations happen within a couple yards. When somebody gets in your personal space and threaten you, that's when you need this pistol to work, and you need it to work fast. But we also proved shooting longer distance, that 15 yards, that it's not only fast, but it's accurate. So it's the best of both worlds in a pretty cool carry package size. Let's talk about holster selection for the Hellcat pistol. Now, I got one of the first 100 pistols, so mine came with a crossbreed inside the waistband. Unfortunately for me, I have too much junk in the trunk, and an inside the waistband holster does not work for me. It never has. You know, if I lose a bunch of weight, maybe it will then. But I have some XDS holsters on hand. So I had this one made for my XDS holster. And now check this out. It works. How cool is that? Now, if you've got a tight-fitting holster, the Hellcat may or may not work in your holster. The tighter it is, probably the better fit, because there is some wiggle room in there, but it does lock into place. And if I take this back to the holster manufacturer and we heat up in the areas right there, the locking areas, it'll actually be tight and it will fit this gun really, really well. Another one of my favorite holsters, the Safariland 5378, the ALS locking holster. These are my favorite holsters in the world. I have 20 or 30 of these for different guns. Check this out. This is for the XDS. Did you hear that click? That means it locked in there. So you do have that movement in there, but it actually positively locked in that holster. So how cool is that? So depending on your holster, your Hellcat may fit in there right away until you actually get one that's specific for the Hellcat, or you could be like me and just use a holster you already have and it should work. The Springfield Armory Hellcat is a great pistol, but what I want to talk about is the trigger and kind of a flaw that I see in the gun, and that I think some people will have issues every time they shoot the gun. Other people like me will never have that issue. And I think one of the reasons, because I got fat fingers, and my fat fingers can reach in there and they pull the trigger like normal every time. Also, you got to remember, I'm a pretty experienced shooter. So when it comes to me, man, I've had no problems from day one of this gun. Now, but we've let other people shoot this gun, and what happens because of that flat face trigger, they get up a high purchase right there. And I want to show you something. When you go in there, or you got a skinny finger, do you notice how I'm pushing back, but the safety isn't depressing? But if you get back and lower, that safety depresses every single time. You know, even if you go fast, it just works. But if you get it mid to a high grip, did you hear that? How it wasn't cool? You could get it to a point, again, low works every time. But if you hit that trigger up high, you run into a click. And what that is back there, the safety right here isn't moving out of the way of the frame enough for that trigger to fire. So let's go slow. You depress that the trigger safety and it works like normal. But when you hit high, I'm able to make it jam every single time. And that right there, you will need to go to the gun store, test this gun yourself, and see if your fingers have a problem doing that, or if it works every time for you like it does me. Personally, if I was the only one shooting this gun, I would have never had a problem with that gun. But like I said, we let other people shoot this gun, and every single time they hit that trigger, they hit it up high, and it jammed on them until we told them we had to smack their finger down every single time, and then it worked for them. So it could be an issue of training, or something that is just an issue for you. I want to get 5 pistols here with the Hellcat, and I want you to see just how small it really is. And I've got it next to the 4 competitors that are really in its class. From left to right, we got a Smith & Wesson Shield. We got a Springfield Armory XDS. We got a Glock 43. We got a Sig P3 65, and then we got the Hellcat. So what I want you to do is, David, go around the guns and show how close in comparison they really are. Now remember, all of these are 9mm pistols. All of them are deep concealed carry pistols. And what I want to talk about is specifically the XDS and the P365. Now, these guns are pretty close. Depending on where you measure them or what angles you measure them, one gun is smaller than the other in different categories. But both these two guns are almost comparable in size. In fact, they are for all intensive purposes. One of the cool things that I want to show you though, compared to a Shield and an XDS, it is smaller. And I will tell you for a fact, it is more comfortable to shoot than both of these two pistols. Now, the surprising comparison is with a Glock 43 in 9mm. Take a look at the grip size of that. The XDS is basically the same size, even though the Glock is a single stack gun. With the Hellcat, you're getting 13+1 rounds. That is an amazing package that you're getting for that size. Let's take a look at the Hellcat versus the Sig P365. In all honesty, if you have a P365, you're probably not going to run out and get a Hellcat. They're so close in comparison, it's a toss-up of which one you would consider what the winner is. There really is no winner because both guns are good. They're both in the same class. Now, my opinion, I like the sights better on the Hellcat than I do the P365, but there's others that like the trigger over the Hellcat. So it's a toss-up and it goes either way, you know, depending on what you like. But if you're in the market for a micro 9mm pistol and you've been eyeballing the 365, you need to put the Hellcat on that list and try them both and pick which one's best for you. Now, when you compare the Hellcat to the Smith & Wesson Shield or an XDS pistol, there really is no comparison. This is older technology, and last year, the year before, this was a really cool micro pistol, but now you've lost some weight, you've gained some capacity, you got better features. I mean, when you compare it to these single stack 9mm pistols, there really is no comparison. I mean, the Hellcat's more comfortable to shoot, like we were talking earlier about the grip. The texture's better, the size is better, the capacity's better. Why would you go to those older pistols? I know I wouldn't, even though I own two of these pistols. I'm not going to throw them away, but when it comes to everyday carry, the Hellcat's going to go in my pocket and not an XDS and not a Shield. We're going to compare the Hellcat to the Glock 43 in 9mm. Now, again, it's a smaller pistol. You have a single stack versus a double stack. Size-wise, they're almost identical. Why would you pick a Glock 43 with less rounds than you would the Hellcat? It just doesn't make sense. And the Glock 43 was made for ultra-deep concealment. A lot of law enforcement officers carry this on their ankle as a backup gun. Well, those people should consider the Hellcat. Double stack magazine, 13+1 rounds with the extended magazine. You're almost to a full-size pistol capacity. It's more comfortable to shoot. It's got better sights from the factory. And best of all, if you're already used to the Glock, it comes with the same trigger mechanism. The same manual of arms that you're already used to with a Glock, you could use with the Hellcat. So my final thoughts on the Hellcat pistol. The number one question I've been getting for the last 2 weeks is, XDMAN, what gun are you going to carry? Do you like this gun? Does it suck? Is it excellent? Is it great? I am here to tell you that this Hellcat is the cat's meow. It is an awesome little piece that the size and capacity, the sights, everything you get with the gun, the grip texture and everything is just awesome. I'm in Alabama, and up until last week, it was almost 100 degrees and high humidity. I was able to wear this with the shorts and t-shirt, with a concealment holster. No one knew I had it on. But if I needed to pull that gun out and I needed to put rounds on target, just like I proved earlier in the video, this gun is more than capable of doing it. It's accurate for longer range. The sights are quick and fast for quick, up close, dirty work. Yeah, everybody, all my friends at Guns and Gadget Daily, you really need to put this pistol on your short list of things to buy and to check out. This gun, Dennis Reese said, is the beginning of a new category of guns for Springfield Armory. I can't wait to see what they do with this platform. Go out to your local gun store, pick one of these up, take a look at it, play with it, fondle it, and hopefully you get all choked up just like I did, because it's really cool what Springfield did. And like I said before when I did with the unboxing, yes, Springfield Armory did give me one of the first 100 guns, but that was not going to reflect on what I felt about the pistol. The pistol did have some issues. We showed that it had some issues at the bottom of the grip with pinching fingers when a friend shot it. Also with the trigger. Is it a perfect gun? No, but it's damn near.